So this morning I want to talk about a quote that's attributed to the Buddha, which is, quote, "Life is short. Live like your head is on fire." Life is short. Live like your head is on fire. And it's a powerful call to the urgency of how we want to live this life. It may sound dramatic or hyperbole like hyperbole, but it's actually very practical, a very practical teaching because it reminds us of the fleeting nature of human life and encourages us to focus on what really matters. That's the what like your head is on fire part. And it's not intended, the teaching is not intended to induce panic in us, but to awaken us again to the reality, the irrefutable notion of impermanence, and to inspire us to live with clarity, to live with purpose, to live with diligence. As we talk about here all the time, at the core of the Buddha's teachings is the concept of anicca, which is the Pali word for impermanence. Everything in our lives, my vacation, our relationships, possessions, our bodies is subject to change and eventual dissolution. As we know, life is unpredictable. Look at the weather recently. While we may hope for a long and fulfilling existence, the truth is that our time here is uncertain. We just don't know when or how it's going to end. And reflecting on the impermanence is not meant to instill fear in us, but to help us prioritize what matters, prioritize how we spend our time and energy. This image of our head on fire metaphorically conveys the urgency needed to confront this truth. So just imagine if your head were literally aflame. We wouldn't procrastinate or waste time on trivial concerns. We would hurry up and put the fire out. Our entire focus would be on extinguishing the fire. Similarly, the Buddha urges us to recognize, not take for granted, but recognize the fleeting nature of life and direct our energies toward what is most important. Cultivating wisdom, cultivating compassion, reducing our suffering, all of these things that we talk about here. In our modern world, it's just too easy to fall into routines of distraction, routines of complacency. We do it all the time. We have so many distractions, so many things calling out for our attention. We spend hours scrolling through social media, worrying about our possessions, worrying about what new things we want to get, chasing temporary pleasures. And yes, these things may provide fleeting satisfaction, but we know in the long run the novelty wears off and we feel unfulfilled in the long run. The Buddha's teaching reminds us to step back and ask ourselves, are we living with intention? Are we focusing on what truly matters? Are we living like our head is on fire? In other words, approaching each moment with mindfulness and a sense of purpose. It's not about rushing around. It's not about being frenetic. It's about being fully present as the best we can and engaged with life. Prioritizing time with those we care about, with our loved ones, practicing generosity, committing to our daily meditation, working on remaining present as best we can, letting go of distractions, letting go of habits that do not serve our deeper well being. Now, it doesn't mean we go move into a monastery, but it means we prioritize these practices. The Buddha's teachings offer us a clear path, a roadmap to the reduction of suffering. And of course, this roadmap, as you know, is the Noble Eightfold Path. Ethical conduct, the three buckets there, ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. And the beauty of these practices is that they align our lives with what is really important, what is really meaningful. Living with this urgency that the quote implies doesn't mean abandoning our responsibilities, as I said a moment ago. It doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. It means bringing mindfulness and care to as much of our lives day to day as is possible, making that a priority. For example, take right mindfulness asks us to be as fully present in each moment as we can, whether we're working, whether we're eating, whether we're spending time with others, or think about right effort, channeling our energy into wholesome actions that reduce our suffering, reduce the suffering of those around us, and on through each of the Eightfold Paths. By following the path, we live with the awareness that life is short, and we want to cultivate peace and clarity so that we can be fully present for the richness of this life. One of the most practical ways, as you know, to embody the Buddha's teachings is to embrace the present moment. When we are fully present, we experience the richness of life. We experience the beauty of life, even with all of life's challenges. We stop clinging to the past, revisiting it, rehearsing it, rehashing it rather, or anxiously anticipating the future. What if this? What if that? We appreciate the here and now. We recognize we can't change the past. We recognize we can't control the future, and that each moment right now is precious and unrepeatable. Now, again, it doesn't mean we ignore our responsibilities. It doesn't mean we don't plan prudently. It doesn't mean we don't make good decisions. It means approaching life with balance, what the Buddha called the middle way. We make plans and goals, but we do so with the awareness that the only time we really have is the present moment. The only time we really have is right now. And by living in the moment right now, we respond more effectively to life's challenges with greater clarity and greater equanimity. And then another aspect of this teaching about our head on fire is learning to let go of attachments. So much of our suffering, as we always talk about here, arises from clinging to material possessions, clinging to relationships, clinging to how we want things to be. Even our own ideas, even our own identities. We cling all over the place. But when we understand that life is short and impermanent, we begin to see the futility of the clinging and the suffering that it causes. How about instead we cultivate a sense of freedom and contentment by embracing change as it meets us, as we experience it, and letting go of what no longer serves us, letting go of those attachments. For example, we practice generosity by sharing our resources with others. We don't just continue to accumulate stuff and cling to it. We know that we cannot take stuff with us when we're gone, but we treat it as though we can. We can, how about forgiving those who have wronged us, realizing that holding on to anger only prolongs our suffering. When we let go of these attachments, we create space for compassion, joy, and inner peace to arise. The Buddha's teaching to live like your head is on fire is not an admonition to live in fear. Again, it's not to scare us. It's an invitation, but though to live with urgency, to live with purpose, to live with mindfulness, because life is short and precious. Why do we want to waste it on trivial concerns? We just go on autopilot. We just sort of pretend, we're going to be at this forever. And that does not serve us. What about instead if we focus on cultivating wisdom, compassion, and a reduction in suffering? By reflecting on impermanence, reminding ourselves of it every day, because then we're in the best position to make choices that align with our deepest values. When we live each day with intention, we embrace the present moment, and we let go of the things that are holding us back. And the urgency then in this teaching today becomes a pathway to freedom, a call to live fully, authentically, and with an open heart. And I just can't imagine a better way to live to the extent that we can touch into that. Life is short, but when lived with mindfulness and purpose, it is more than enough. So those are some thoughts on living life as though our head was on fire.